Alright guys, so we are off with Vahuva versus Carnage to kick off today's show matches. Carnage picking Babylonian, Vahuva picking Egypt. We're about to find out what happens. Got equal footing for game number 1. And we'll just take it away. So spawning at the bottom side of the map today is the yellow Babylonian at Carnage. Hasn't found a hunt just yet. Oh, there we go. Now he has. So, spawning at the top side of the map today is the red Egyptian player. I don't know if I actually got his color, if he even... I can't even see it. As a red Egyptian player, we have Vahuva. Sorry, if he elected for another color, I must have forgotten. I just left him on red. So, I left him on red. XD. Anyway, both players found a hunt. Both of them on the forward side of the base. So a little bit dangerous here. Just got his scout just sitting there doing nothing. What's going on, big fella? Wakey wakey. So both of them with a fast barracks. Let's see a lot of early aggression here between these two players, I think. Don't know if Vahuva's got a lot of time today, so he was saying he wanted to try and have a quite rush-oriented game today. On sort of both ends. So Carnage finishing his barracks at the same time as Vahuva there. And so the Egyptian spearmen, they do train a little bit faster, but they are also a little bit squishier. So Babylonian spears at 11 damage, 250 health. Egyptian spears at 10 damage, 160 health, but yeah, they've got that 2-second train time advantage at 10 seconds to 12. So in even numbers, it certainly favours Babylonian, but the Egyptian can certainly muster up a couple more units and use that to try and bait a fight while trying to actually put pressure on, say, the wood line, or, you know, bait a fight at the wood line and try and put pressure on the hunt then. It looks as though Vahuva's actually just sitting back for now. I'm going to try and steal the goats. Actually, no. He leaves them there for Carnage. His next worker regathers those. So neither player looking to move out just yet. Vahuva adding loom. Carnage hasn't taken the tech just yet. So Vahuva's work is about to shoot up to over 200 health. Carnage is going to be stuck at 150 for a little bit, but he's going to move out with 6 spears, so he's not going to have to worry about the tech. Vahuva in the meanwhile, going to have to play on the back foot. Got 7 spears here, and Carnage has got 7 on the way over as well. 8 just popping out now for Vahuva. He's actually sort of cut spears. Oh no, there we go. So a little bit late on the next spear production. Probably could have afforded to keep a continuous stream up, considering Carnage has gone for such a big number at the moment, because he doesn't want to be taking a somewhat even fight here. So like I said, Carnage's spears just have that much more value in them. The Egyptian spears are cheaper, more disposable, faster training unit. Vahuva forced to really bring his priestess up to try and take the best fight he can. Microing his heart out with his individual spears, but it's not going to be enough for him, I don't think, because Carnage is still on 7. Vahuva is on... Ooh, Vahuva might be holding here. Carnage trying to micro down individual spears. Tree sort of helping Vahuva there a little bit. Carnage actually cutting his spear production now, by the look of it. Oh, Vahuva ramping it back up again, so this will be interesting. So Vahuva is certainly going to have a nice defensive position here, while Carnage, having cut his spears, but still maintaining the map control because he's got that H2 on the way. A little bit. Oh, Vahuva's actually committing to a second barracks, so his H2 is going to be a little bit delayed here and a little bit slow on the hunt transition there. He could have preemptively queued up that storehouse as the last deer finished up there. But as for Hoover's looking to move out here with this nice ball of 8 spears, he's bringing his priestess as well, so a bit of high risk, high reward because he's training villagers slower, he's not going to have any defensive healing options available, and if he gets overwhelmed here he can lose the priestess. But in the meanwhile, Carnage working his way around the back with his 4 spears, leaving him a little bit prone to a push here from Hoover. As long as the priestess sort of sits outside the TC range, he can sort of harass the gold mine, or bring her over here, harass the stone mine, get a bit of value out of that, even here on the wood line over here. So Hoover running around the back of his opponent's base as Carnage is looking to do the same. And Hoover's army worth just a little bit more here. He's actually got the priestess and the scout coming along too. I think Carnage lost his scout in the fight. He's got his second TC up already though, while Hoover still stuck in age 1. So, and he's actually cut the spear production. He's decided to try and take the long way around here, I think, but at the same time he's going to have to defend losing a villager there to Carnage's spears. So Hoover pushed off the hunter at the moment. This is going to really hurt him, because as he's flooding out all these spears, he's really going to run low on food. He's going to have to switch back to the berries. He hasn't got picker's gloves just yet. And Hoover, he's sort of caught indecisively. I don't think he managed to go in there, and he probably really could have. He could even interrupt the stables, and that'd be quite big for him if he did so. But meanwhile, Carnage finishing off that storehouse. So Carnage a little bit ahead of Hoover at the moment, but in saying that, Hoover's not well and truly out of this game. Carnage's second TC, quite a distant one, and Hoover, I don't know if he's seen it just yet. He's going to find it now, but it's probably going to be a little bit too late because Carnage has actually brought his spears back to defend. TC's just finished up, so these guys are going to be able to garrison. Everything's going to be safe and sound here for Carnage, while Hoover really taking a risky play here. And Carnage could easily select that priestess and bring it down with the TC, which he's doing now. So losing her could be quite dramatic for Hoover because that's a big 100 gold loss for him early on. Well, the spears, they're only a 45 resource unit, so Hoover really hurting after that little push there. Perhaps if he had found that TC a lot earlier, that could have been game changing for him because he could have really held up Carnage. If he had have sniped it at like a third health, he'd have to go back and mine a little bit more stone, gather a little bit more wood, and throw it up elsewhere, and they'd basically be on the same page. Because Hoover's getting his second TC now, this has brought him a bit of breathing room, and a heavy number of spearmen is nice in this situation because Carnage is obviously going to go for those lances. So Hoover does actually know about the stables, and Carnage adding another barracks actually, just in case there's a big number of camels, because he wants to really play around Spear Lancer against, well, if it's Spear Camel, he can just add some bowmen, or basically just snipe the camels with his own spears, and then just basically fight spear v spear while his lancers put pressure on Hoover. But meanwhile, Hoover probably going to want to add in axemen at some point if the Babylonian has too many spears, and considering he's going for the double barracks there, then Hoover really probably going to want to get out the axemen or look at taking up to age 3 quickly. He is actually going to get spear champion though, so he could potentially overwhelm Carnage here, who's actually committed to a market as well. So really greedy opening here from Carnage. And Hoover going now. Thank you for the follow. 17 spears on the way in. They have got champ now too, so they do have a little bit more health. They are a little bit cheaper for Hoover. They're going to be able to put a bit of threat on this TC. While meanwhile, Carnage trying to push out with his lancers. He's only got 3 of them for now, but at the same time, that's still going to be plenty to put a bit of pain on Hoover, because he's going to have to get spears to come back and defend, rather than being able to just parade push across the field with the 2 Raxes. Carnage actually looking to bring back the lancers, so Hoover again has a nice number of spears to put some pressure on here, get a couple of villager kills, sacrifice a couple of spears, but ultimately play a little bit of catch up in the villager game. But he's already down to 31 to 44 villagers, so that market for Carnage really offering a lot of gathering advantage over Hoover, who is a little bit late with the axeman transition, and perhaps he could have held off or backed out of that position there, because he's now lost all these spears. He's got just, well, he's got axemen and spears coming out, but he certainly hasn't got the 20 spears he just had, and I don't think he really got a lot of value out of that in the end. He perhaps just needed to force the garrison and back out. But he did ultimately lose a large chunk of his forces, and because of the greedier play from Carnage, he's really stepping ahead in terms of score. He's gathering a lot of gold here from this market. I think it might be the best market line. 51 gold. Now that's over 50 gold for Carnage, guys. That's actually impressive for his really early markets. And it just goes to show how greedy he's playing with the second town center. So far away from his first. Meanwhile, the Hoovers pretty much just outside of range of one another. That, you know, there's going to be a little midpoint here where they'd actually be overlapping in terms of the range. So Carnage certainly doesn't get that benefit. But meanwhile, he's set up to be able to, take a nice market line, backing this market right into the corner of the map. For Hoover in the meanwhile, adding another Rax. Added his armory. He's got Spear Champ. Getting a good number of axes. He's going to add Temper as well. Carnage is adding his armories right now, but Hoover is going to be able to sneak in Temper just that little bit quicker. Nice number of lances there for Carnage, and there is no camels out yet for Hoover, so this means the more lances he can have out at this point, the more pressure he can really build on Hoover, the more space he can gain himself and really be able to choke Hoover into this little quarter of the map. He's going to come up here and hit this hunt with these lances, and the spear is going to be a bit slow to respond. Oh, in fact, Hoover's just going to move out. He's even added some slingers just to try and snipe any bowmen that may be potentially out from Carnage. But I've made this mistake myself before. He hates building ranged units for some reason early on as Babylonian. He just loves his Mass Lancer or Spear Lancer compositions. So perhaps these guys could have just been more spears or more axemen here and really helped the Hoover a little bit more in this fight. But at the same time, he does have a nice unit count here, and he's going to force Carnage to have to come back with these lances. That's 9 of them there. It looks as though Hoover's got a little bit bigger army because there's only 4 lances and 15 spears here to defend against this comp from Hoover. Carnage is pulling ahead in terms of population. Now that these lances are back in the fight, I think this is going to be tipping back in towards Carnage's favour, because basically nothing's going to be able to fight cost effectively into the lances from the Egyptian arsenal at this point in the game. And so Hoover's whole army just gets eviscerated. Carnage's Temper and Scale Mail are going to finish up now, so Hoover having Temper is no longer really going to be of an advantage, because he's now going to just be down on the armor upgrade for a little moment. He needs to get that Scale Mail and Hide armor out. No Priestess on there empowering it. No Priestess on his first or second town center at the moment. So that's really going to hurt for Hoover, because he could be producing villagers, he could be taking these upgrades a little bit quicker. And right now, he's leading another unit, trying to take down the watch post. While Carnage, is in a wonderful position, able to really get up a bunch of watch posts himself. And Hoover's trying to look for some more, see if Carnage has them out already over here where there's no lances, because if he can destroy them, Carnage is going to probably want to rebuild them. He loves his vision. While Hoover, I think he's really feeling the pinch. He's got 700 gold in the bank. He really could just afford to just pump out a whole bunch of priestesses, empower structures for gathering, as well as for the upgrades and the villager production. Because at this stage he needs every little bit of catch up he can with the macro. Right now he's well behind in terms of score. 48 villagers to 79. Carnage is really pulling ahead there. He's pretty much at the stage where he's probably going to stop his villager production, adding just a couple more caravans from this point on, and taking his age 3, so yeah, I think that's going to be it for Vill production from Carnage. He'll just add another, or maybe 8 to 10 caravans. He's already at 82 pop. No need to really get any more. Probably could even cut it right now if he wanted. This is a good fight for him, because only half of Hoover's army's engaged here. This is really bad for Hoover. Great for Carnage. And now that the rest of the army's coming in, Carnage can just disengage after taking a really positive trade there. I don't think a single Lancer fell. He just got a whole bunch of infantry kills off the Hoover. Now he's going to just pull the Hoover's army back towards the other side of this base. So that's really going to be tough for the Hoover to deal with. He needs to add the stables. He's getting them now. Double stables on the way, but perhaps they're a little late. A whole bunch more villager kills going Carnage's way here. getting combined arms and a bunch of Royal Guards too. Perhaps he's not even going to play a Lancer oriented style, he's just going to tech switch to Royal Guard and be able to deal with the Axeman before Champion kicks in on them for the Egyptian, because Vahuva is still stuck in age 2. In fact, yeah, Carnage is going to be able to get both Lancer Champ and Royal Guard out in the field, and that'll be really, really hard for a barracks based Egyptian to play around. And the Camels, not just going to be a convenient mass tech switch for Vahuva, because if Carnage just gets a whole bunch of Royal Guards and Spearmen out, you know, it's suddenly not taking a fight against Lancers with your Camels. You know, it's suddenly not... The ball's suddenly not in your court fight-wise. So there's 10 idle villagers there for Carnage. 12 actually. Vahuva going to apply a bit of his own pressure now. So this will be good for him, but he really probably needs to get out of here, because these Lancers are going to hit Champion probably just as this fight is going to finish. And there's Royal Guards in the mix. Another couple of barracks being thrown down from Carnage. And he's really repelled Vahuva. The Champion's kicked in. This is going to really be punishing for Vahuva. He's going to be desperate to get out a whole bunch of Camels to deal with this now. The stables are finished up, but there's no Camels coming out for Vahuva here. It's really going to hurt. And Carnage, 7 Lancers in position to deal a lot of damage. Really slow down the gold and stone ecos here of Vahuva, but at the same time, Vahuva might just have vision of this from the storehouse, so he's going to come in here and clean up these Lancers. So that'll be good for Vahuva, but Carnage reacting instantly, getting these guys out of here. Might be able to find a little gap. Yes, he can. So one of the Lancers is going to get surrounded perhaps here from Vahuva. No, he may even get out. So Vahuva even letting this little fella, little Lancer that could. He's going to make it out of there. Oh no, the Camel's got him. So the Camel's popping out an opportune moment there for Vahuva. But Carnage, once again denying the food gathering of Vahuva up in this top corner. He's already had to transition to a huge amount of farms, gather a huge amount of wood, and investing in that when you're already behind is quite killer, I think. So Carnage comfortably in age 3. Perfect 90 villages for him. Taking age 4, he can look at cutting villages not long after this, once he builds up a little bit of a bank, and yeah, can set himself up for his age 4 army. Double market, triple market here for Vahuva, really being prevented at the moment. But at the same time, all these Lancers could be surrounded. More Lancers coming in. They are going to run into an army of spears. And ultimately Carnage being repelled here because there's just too many units here for that ball of Lancers to deal with. But in the meanwhile, more Lancers are finding their way into Vahuva's base. He's finding the gaps. He's been adding a little bit more in terms of production. He's got a lot of barracks now, Carnage. So he can really build pretty much whatever he likes. Barracks or stables wise, I think. He's really taking the pressure off himself here in the matchup. And Vahuva, yeah, is really restricted to this little segment of the map. But try as he might, Vahuva seems to be catching up in terms of score. Carnage once again has that really nice age 3 comp that's going to be hard for Vahuva to deal with, who's still just stuck in age 2, and age 4 coming out now for Carnage. So Vahuva is really far behind. He's down 2 ages. There we go. Age 3 coming out for Vahuva. A whole bunch of idle priestesses here, so that's going to hurt him because he could actually have them on these town centers as he's producing more villages. He could have them on these markets as he's producing all these caravans, so that it doesn't actually help the drop off, but it does actually speed up the production. And once you finish building them, you can always bring them back with your army, put them on your military production facilities. Carnage getting Sapper Champ, combat expertise, age 4 melee, and total war. It's really going to be hard for Vahuva to deal with because everything's going to be stronger for the Babs player. Vahuva's little raid here of the camels, unsuccessful because the Lancers in such a great number that when you're fighting a whole age of armory upgrades down, you just simply can't fight them because they can just charge cycle, back out, and keep taking good fights. So Carnage really able to take advantage of that and just eviscerating the camels. Who, even though they should win that trade, because like I said, they're an age down in terms of the upgrades. They're really worse for wear. There's no champion on them. The Lancers already have their champion upgrade and they charge. And there's no age 3 armory upgrades yet for Vahuva. Carnage well ahead in that regard, adding more barracks in to go for some meme sapper composition to really cut through all these walls. So, man, I wish every other Cid had a unit like sappers. An infantry or ranged or cavalry unit that doubled as siege. I know Egypt has their elephants, I suppose. So something like elephants or sappers. Because it really at least means that you can cut through these walls. It's something that's really restricted to both Egypt and Babylon. But here we go, Carnage is just running in with the sappers, sniping houses, putting the pressure on Vahuva to replace those as quick as he can, while Carnage can just basically safely max out with even more of them and just tear through walls on both sides of Vahuva's base. So he's actually sneaking some in to try and snipe the market while he sends some over here to really distract Vahuva. This is genius play from Carnage because he's putting pressure on Vahuva to prevent the sappers from sniping all the production, while in the meanwhile he's sending some others over here to get some houses and then ultimately work towards the markets. So Vahuva gonna have to have a lot to deal with. All those gatherers denied there. This triple wall here from Vahuva would really deny Carnage on that front. At the same time, he's really running low on gold, and losing these markets could be a killer because he hasn't got a lot of wood to replace them either. So the sappers OP. The age 4 melee damage upgrade, they're just cutting through these buildings. And this time, Vahuva having to repel on the left side and the right side of his base while the markets are being sniped. He does manage to clear out all the sappers at the back of his base there, but not before losing all his markets, and Carnage just maxing out with Sapper Champ and pushing at the moment. Sniping buildings everywhere. Some chariots joining the mix, but Vahuva desperately needs more chariots and axemen to really be able to clean this up, because Carnage is just going to keep maxing out with sappers, and without a hard counter comp to that, there's not really any way Vahuva can keep holding on here. He's going to keep losing more vital structures like town centers and markets and houses. Carnage is just picking him apart. He's going to snipe the armory, and GG. Vahuva taps out game number 1. Sorry guys, Vahuva's going to have to go, and it's going to be about half an hour until the Wicked Lord and 5EO have to face off, so we're just going to bring down the stream for a sec, and we'll be back in about 30 minutes. Thanks for watching guys. Apologies, but yeah, we're going to call this one a best of 1 victory towards Carnage. But yeah, apologies guys, Vahuva's got to go for study or something. We'll see you guys later.